I felt like I needed to communicate. Let's say I wasn't happy with who I was, where I was from. I was an only child. I found myself kind of lonely sometimes. I basically looked to graffiti as something I wanted to become a part of. The energy was good. I could create a new identity, portray myself as that person. I came up with the name Futura 2000, loosely inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey, which came out in 1968. I was 13. Futura, the typeface, the car, the blender, the vacuum cleaner. Futura 2000 just seemed the right thing for me to be. I began tagging that up. I did create an identity around Futura 2000. No one necessarily knew me as Lenny. No one cared to know me as Lenny. I wasn't very important as Lenny, but I somehow gained more importance, not even prestige, but just personal respect as this pseudonym, anonymous alter ego. That's what I mean, alter ego.
The tag is really short, sharp shot of who you are, and it's easier to get that around and get many of them around. So it's about coverage.
The analogy of a dog pissing and marking its territory, in a sense, it's kind of true. I mean, you mark your territory and then you're happy to go back and check the scent.
Every piece came from tagging. Like a piece is nothing more than a fat tag with outline and designs.
Tagging's the lowest common denominator of piecing. Like a piece takes a few hours, like a tag takes a few seconds. But you should try and apply as much skill into your tag as you're going to do into a piece.
It's in your mind, and sometimes 24 hours a day you're thinking of it, or doing something, or what can I do tonight, or where shall I make a piece, or shall we go out and bomb somewhere. It was just for fun, you know. Mostly not on any new kind of fresh wall. Except public transport. That's always possible. Always. He was looking every second of putting your name somewhere. And it's still fun to do it, you know. After all these years, it's still funny. That's so strange. I finished about 20,000 cans. And that's no bullshit. They're cleaning a lot nowadays, but I'm sure that in 2000 I'll still see some rhyme tags.
I don't have any preferences or scruples, you know. Like, I mean, like I love looking at buildings, you know, but that will not stop me if I had the chance to put a nice tag on one.
That's stupid, like to make a tag on the shirt, or I prefer like go on the police station and make tag over there.
For me, I take graffiti as an art, as an expressing of yourself. And when you do historical building, when you build something and it's beautiful, I think that's the same, you know, because you put something from you into it.
We're in the midway between art form and totally vandalism. This is too human, this kind of stuff. The city, even before graffiti, Roma, it was crowded of names, even if it's a political, you know, group, or even if it's his girlfriend name. There will be always a guy who would start drawing his name.
2 years ago, I went to London for Christmas, and I walked down Shaftesbury Avenue, and like 2 days later, like I walk through it and I see Dwayne tags and a few other local things. So now I know that some guy from Sweden passed through Shaftesbury Avenue between this and this date using this and this colour, and like where it's placed and how it's placed and how big it is or how it's shaped gives you an idea of the movements he had to do to make it, you know.
So the placement of the tag is really subtle. There's subtleties in it, as well as the thing of dangerous places, harder places, tags by police stations, and risky things like that.
It is a minor contribution to the overall scene, and in some senses, you know, it doesn't look very appealing. But like I say, at the same time, there's nothing like a truck or a gate or some particular wall that just has nothing but tags, nothing very beautiful. It's a real snapshot of what the movement really is all about. and that is individuals writing their names on walls, expressing who they are in the most minute way, their tags.
I wanted to be somebody, not to be a pop star or to be a big film star or to be anything big, but just a little somebody.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for doing that. I would not have chased that fucking rainbow, do you know what I mean? You know, I was Goldie before the gold. I was painting, I was Goldie, I was going out there painting walls, you know what I mean? I was getting known for painting. You want to put your name up to be recognised, somebody reads that fucking name and says, I know that kid.
You sort of like think this person has more to them as an individual.
You build up a sub-character. Goldie's right there. Me, I'm here. You make that character. That's what graffiti did for people. It gave people confidence. Some of the biggest writers, the most prolific writers I ever met, I'm like, hello, fucking hell. Is that the guy? Some white kid, scraggly hair.
So it's almost like I have agents working for me, and I put them in different places around the city, and they just stand there and pose for me. And everyone walks by and they say, yeah, that's me, that's Prime.
You never lose that. What you do lose is time in life where you can actually do that. That's what you do lose.
I am a person in society. I go to work, I contribute, I pay my taxes. I'm a kind of like regular kind of person. I do all that shit that everybody else does. I go to work for one reason and one reason only, to get paid. My time outside of that is very valuable to me, and I want to enjoy myself. And one of my hobbies is doing graffiti. Everyone's got a tag, and if you've got 10 tags on a shop shutter or on the side of a wall, none of those tags are really going to stand out unless it's somebody who's famous. So I didn't want a tag. I wanted like a symbol, something a little bit stronger than a tag. So you can just catch a glimpse of that, and that's it. You recognise it. You know it's there. You've seen it, and it's like, yes, there it is. There's another one, and it works. And I like walking around and seeing my tag there and seeing it there, and seeing one from back in '89 there, and it's nice. People come up to me and say, yeah, I didn't realise you did that. It's like, just a little ego boost. It's like, yeah.
There's not really many places in London you can go without seeing one of scraps. They're everywhere.
Once you stop, nobody's talking about you after a couple of months. You're dead, actually. So that's what you actually keeps you active. I mean, you have to do more, so people still speak about you.
If you stop, you're forgotten. After a couple of years, you're forgotten unless you were special.
Though I don't get fame, I don't get paid, I have to do it once in a while. I have an idea, I have to do it. I'm not feeling confident if I have an idea and I haven't done it. Because I'm always in fear. If I have an idea, someone might do it before me.
I was never concerned about getting paid for it. All I wanted was the fame. I'll be honest with you, I don't have tons of money, you know, from it, and it was just an ego trip, a fame thing that, you know, hey, that's me. And during the course of time, what it did do is make a lot of people know me, and know of me, or maybe know me personally, or they're on. But it kept me busy. You know, that would be the answer. It kept me out of trouble.
When I was on my own and I didn't have anything better to do, I could always have my pens and my paint to fall back on. I could sit in my house at 2 o'clock in the morning and say I'm going out for 4 hours. I didn't need to have company, I didn't need to have friends, I didn't need to have nothing. I just went out and done something that was instant satisfaction, free of charge. I was out there every single day without fail, tagging, bombing, whatever you want to call it, I was out there doing it. I used to get night buses to the far reaches of London, get off the night bus and walk home. 8, 9, 10 miles I would walk home, and I would absolutely write on everything that was in my way. As a young person, I was shy, and I didn't really maybe communicate with other people on a great level. But as I became well known for graffiti, when I met people that maybe I may not have had a lot to say to in the past, I met them as Drax. They already knew kind of what I was all about, and that I was prolific and that I was a dedicated writer, and they had that element of respect for me. I don't want any fame, I don't want any exposure, but my name, the persona that I invented for myself in the graffiti world, I wanted that to be famous, and I still do yearn for that.
The one thing about graffiti that I think that people lost along the way is the respect for it and fellow people doing it.
Other writers that aren't as well known will go over a famous person to make a name for themselves.
When you do stuff like that, you show no consideration for the guy who done the art. That's suckerness, you know? You're not getting nowhere by come writing your name in somebody's piece, you know? When you could be home practicing on paper what you're gonna do the next time when you get big, when you get old enough to do a piece. But the bottom line is, if you never have a writer who thinks he is nasty as the next man, then you ain't gonna have writing, because you always got somebody who wanna prove that they're as good as the next guy who's doing a piece.
The spots I choose mostly are spots which are seen by many people, but that doesn't mean that I do them because of the people seeing them, because it's just because I myself pass those spots often. It fills most of my time which I am awake. I paint alone mostly, so I have the possibility to think. With every painting there are thoughts connected. I got used to just getting my cans on my own and just walk outside in the night, even if it's cold, if it's raining. Other people are just sitting at home and maybe watching TV, fucking their wives, just doing stuff that everybody does, and I'm able to express myself.
I want to be known. In 100 years, only a couple of names will be remembered. I want to be one of them.
King is always going to be what you say, a true legendary writer like me, myself, and I, who was the one and only member of the Fantastic Partners crew who really made what this is now. You know what I'm saying? From lettering to designs and everything else, you know? Now you got these dudes who do these big productions that make themselves look good as a writer because, you know, it's better without doing it on the train when you got walls. But back in the days, if you didn't have whole cars on the subway and plenty of them, you was considered straight up toy.
What is it, top to bottom? Top to bottom. Try cans right now. Let me get look.
They wanted to see this traveling around on the system so they could point to it and say, that's my work, that's my tag.
And I used to love to see your morning strap hangers reading their newspaper, drinking a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden this train comes rolling into the station and they glance up. You know, sometimes you see them drop their cup of coffee and the newspaper, and then you see this whole thing of color come pulling into the station.
A train yard is something like a playground for you. You enter it and it has certain rules. It has a certain atmosphere.
We know where to go, how to go, so we never get really busted.
You don't see yourself as a criminal, you just see yourself like as a very slick, cool, clever boy who's tried to give his art somewhere to the public and gets away with it.
You know, like a fighter who wants to hunt a lion for the first time. You got to prove his maturity.
It's just like the whole action. It's like an act, sort of like the lost adventure you can get in the city.
We found after we did some surveys that the public were very
concerned about this type of damage. In addition to that, of course, London Underground, I think it was costing them, when we first started, about £2 million a year. That went up to £4 million, although it's decreased subsequently.
Good to know, like, the whole town was sleeping and you went through the maddest night, you know.
A few people have done that side, a few people have done that thing there. But the boy in the middle keeping dog. Everyone's doing it. Next minute all I hear is run, so run.
It's just good doing it all together. It's just a good thing, like, you'd have to do it to understand properly. British Council police, they're behind. They'd just parked up behind the bus. Everyone was crouching down and hiding under the seats. And I remember Zonk, he was actually ducking down. He paid the man like that. Paid the man. Like, I was upstairs shitting myself.
What I come away with is like what I've experienced, and it's like, that's worth it for me. You know, no money can pay for that all-nighter.
When we get old, some experiences I've had I'll never forget, you know what I mean? That's a good thing about it.
Males of a particular age group tend to form their own subcultures with their own identified norms and rules. They then gain credibility by obeying those subcultural norms and rules. Once the offender gets involved in the subculture, he is then put under enormous pressure by his peers to commit offences, or wants to impress his peers by committing lots of offences or dangerous offences. We've had 4 deaths on the underground system in 7 years. We don't want to see any more. There's a very, very small minority. These are the ones that do the mural work, and they normally do it for self-actualisation. They do it because they like to see their own work on the trains. The taggers
I think they're in it for the fun, but it's fun that can do them an enormous amount of damage.
I've been caught for criminal damage about 10 times. In total, I've done about 1.5 years in prison for graffiti on 2 separate occasions. Graffiti's always on my brain. I'm always doing the outlines. In prison, I just practice and practice and practice. I send letters to my friends with outlines on. In a way, I feel stupid for going to prison for it, because who goes to prison for graffiti?
If you've got a recidivist offender that's perhaps committed £100,000 worth of damage and continues to commit this type of offence, then we look towards detention, not for rehabilitation, but literally to control that individual.
It's not stopping me. Prison doesn't stop me. I don't think anyone can stop me. My mum and dad can't stop me, so I don't see no one else is going to stop me.
Gary started doing graffiti when he was about 12 years old. It was a passion to him, that it wasn't a passing phase, it wasn't something that was going to just finish overnight. He was totally involved, 100% committed. He actually showed me this album, and he presented it to me, and he said to me, Mum, is art a crime? And he showed me this album. I go, oh, you know. And then he proceeded to sort of take me through his album of artists and saying to me, I mean, what do you think of these? And I had to say, I said, well, I think they're brilliant. It did change him, but it was all a part of him growing up as well. I think he found something which made him in himself just feel really good and to be part of something.
Steen, Calm and Rays left, and they went off to paint a train, basically.
They were spotted by the track men who started shouting and yelling at them. They started to run, they started to panic, like, let's get out of here, we don't want to be caught. So they started to run up the embankment, which was safety out of the yard. But when they were halfway up the embankment, 2 officers were running down, chased them onto the lines. Gary took it upon himself to run right out into the middle of the lines, and that he slipped and fell.
All of us had fallen on the tracks. Most of us have had an electric shock at some time. And it wasn't until the next morning when his mum called me up and said that he had passed away that we knew, you know.
The day that Gary was buried was a very, well, it was a very strange day. It was just like a writers' convention. I mean, so many of the writers came from all over, and it was respect.
Sometimes when you're walking down a tunnel, or you're climbing up into a yard or down into a yard, and at any moment you could slip and die, or you could get electrocuted, or a works train could come, you're obviously conscious that you could die, but it's not something you're thinking about.
Graffiti for me gives me a very warm feeling. I like it, and I think the sad thing is that not many people actually do want to understand, they just see it as vandalism. At the end of the day, I lost my son through his art, and I miss him. I think about him every day. There's not a day that doesn't go by. And you just miss him.